Excuse me. Hello, friends. We'll start the press briefing by Secretary, sir.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So basically, we would like to make a very brief presentation to you, which will give you the context of some of the developments that have happened yesterday, and that would put things in perspective so that you are able to understand what is the rationale, what is the objective of the whole decision making. So if you see, this is the scenario of the gradual but consistent price rise, both retail and wholesale, in the domestic rice price, and it has been going on now. If you see, the variation is more than what was the MSP increase, and this is the case with most of the commodity prices. So, and part of it also goes for, especially the broken rice, it goes for animal feed. So the animal feed prices have also been going up. Like, say, for example, if you recall, 2 years in this hall itself, uh, most of you were asking that 850 at that time was the MSP for maize, that it is getting sold at 12 rupees in Bihar, and I very distinctly remember that it's a distress sale, and MSP farmers are not getting. But today, if you see, the price of maize has gone up to 24, so it's not available at MSP. And broken rice, which was almost around 15-16 rupees, this has also gone to 22 rupees now, which is also, and as a result of which, this broken rice is also not available either for the poultry feed or for the ethanol for which they were using broken rice, damaged food grains. Next. Now, if you see the scenario of the broken rice, then I think that that is what is a very critical slide. Uh, it was just 50,000 ton in 2019, and it went to almost 5 lakh metric ton in 20. From 5 it became thrice, became almost 15, and from 15 it has become almost 21 plus lakh metric ton only from April to August. So April to August, if you see, it was 50,000 in 2019. In 4 years time, it has multiplied almost 42 times. So this is not a normal increase of exports. This is absolutely abnormal. This is what the slide makes out. And if you see the export in last 4 years of the broken rice, then 4 year scenario, not these 4 months, but the entire year, also it is more than 300%. From 12 lakh metric ton, it's almost touching 40 lakh metric ton last year. So this is also very exponential increase. This is not normal increase by any stretch of imagination. If your exports are growing by 4-5%, 6%, then this increase is like, abnormal. Next. Now this slide gives you total rice export scenario, month wise also, and then uh, next we will show you the overall year wise also, total exports as well. So if you see on the right hand side, you see the total quantity that was exported. 3 years ago it was 95 lakh metric ton, became 212 lakh metric ton. So again more than double was the growth. And this year it is again building on that base figure. If you see April to August, 38 in 19, 38 lakh metric ton, and now it's almost 94 lakh metric ton. So it has again grown more than double, almost 250% increase. Next. Now, if you see in the total export of rice, what is the share of broken rice, then this slide actually gives you. In 19, the share was just 1% of broken rice, right? And it became, share from 1% became now almost 23%. So this is also something very, very abnormal, growing from 1% to almost 23% in the overall rice export. The share of broken rice has gone up. Next. Now this is the basmati rice export, which is uh, it's an overall scenario. It has slightly declined. If you see, it has come down to almost 40 lakh metric ton from 44. So you can say it's nearly stagnant. The export of basmati has not gone up. It became 46 and it has again come back to 40. And basically the Middle East region is the large area where this export is happening, and this is not affected by any regulation even now. Next. Now, same is the case with the parboiled rice. If you see parboiled rice, then the left hand side shows you April to August, 4 months position. This has also more than doubled, 20 to almost 50. But the important point here is this is for human consumption. Parboiled rice, unlike the broken rice, goes for human consumption. And if you look at the countries that it goes to, largely Africa and some of the neighboring countries. So parboiled rice, you have to make that distinction, and therefore there is no regulation on this. So parboiled rice is outside both duty as well as restriction. So it's and same is the case with the basmati rice. Basmati rice also growth is almost stagnant, so it is outside the regulation. So if you see the quantities of parboiled rice, then it has doubled in case of Bangladesh, Benin also, the Cote d'Ivoire, and overall quantity also just from 61 last year it has become 74 lakh metric ton, and so this is the scenario for the parboiled rice. Next. Now what has been the impact of broken rice, which is also part of the damaged food grain as feedstock, on the ethanol program? Now this is also important. Now, if you look at 1920 when the FCI rice policy was brought for ethanol, then in that year the total ethanol production from the damaged food grain was almost 16 crore a liter, and FCI rice was not required, it was not taken, meaning thereby that the broken rice was available in the market and it was catering to the requirement of ethanol production, and no industry was distiller was lifting rice from the FCI. Next year the target for the supply of ethanol as per the blending program went up, and it became almost 40 crore liter from 15 crore liter, and then for the first time, since the pressure was building on, you have seen in the previous slide, building on the broken rice, so for the first time 2.2 lakh metric ton rice was lifted from FCI stores by distillers because that is allowed. And what was the logic? Because several times many of you asked, the FCI rice was uh, as a feedstock was included in the policy as a interim arrangement that whenever there is a market volatility of prices, distillers capacity should not remain idle and your blending program should not suffer. So in that interim period, they could lift rice available from FCI because we had sufficient stocks available. And actual allotment uh, was 81,000 tons. That was the limited, and actual lifting last year was just about 49,000 tons, 50,000 tons again. So actual the FCI rice use was very minimal. I still recall in 2020, a lot of people were raising this question, and my reply at that time was also same that this is a kind of emergency provision which gives insurance and the guarantee of supply to distiller who has made investment in distillery. That was the objective. But if you see this year, then this year the ethanol production from damaged food grain up to 21st August 22 is just about 16 crore. The ethanol from rice, FCI rice, is 26 crore liter, and the allotment of rice is almost 14 lakh metric ton. So against 80,000, it's 14 lakh metric ton, right? And already against 50, 10 times the quantity, 5 lakh metric ton has been lifted. So you can see, capture the market scenario. The broken rice is not available in the market, as a result of which distillers are moving to FCI rice to use their distilling capacity because it can't, they have made investment, it can't remain idle. They are also under contractual obligation to supply, and each feedstock has given a target, and those targets have to be met. Next. Then overall rice production scenario is by and large stable. It is not affected much because at this stage it is just the kharif sowing that has started, and these are just the broad estimates. So total rice sowing is less by about 28 lakh hectare as per the Department of Agriculture. Loss of production in the worst case scenario is going to be about 100 lakh metric ton, which is not very significant if you look at the overall production.
So can you please repeat that figure? Loss of production will be?
It's written there 10 million, 100 lakh metric ton. This is all estimated because the sowing has just ended, and if the yield is good in some areas, actually this can get compensated also. So these at the moment, this is the first estimate. You will get at various stages various estimates. So still, if you read the last line, which is important, India is still surplus in rice because last year we exported about 212 lakh metric ton, right? And this year our export so far has been 72 lakh metric ton. So still there is almost 150 lakh metric ton gap available. So from that point of view, India is still a surplus in rice production. Next. So broken rice, what is the rationale? This is the question perhaps you would be raising. So I have already explained. This is just summary of all that points that has been given. That in the domestic market, if you ask any poultry feed, a cattle feed person, broken rice is not available. Because if they buy it at that price, then the poultry prices and the other animal product prices will go up. Because contribution of the poultry feed is about 60% of as cost of input to poultry and cattle. So the prices will get pushed. Export share has gone up from almost 1% to 23%. As I said, overall broken rice export has also gone 3 times. And 21-22, the broken rice now it has gone to export is almost 21 lakh metric ton from last year's corresponding figure of 15 lakh metric ton. So growth even now is very high. Next. So therefore, in the last column, we have written that for the time being, broken rice export has been stopped, and a transition period has been given, and it is in the DGFT's order, it's very clearly mentioned. So here for non-basmati rice, which excludes basmati, of course, and also the parboiled. You have seen the export growth and trend, and the difference in the international price is high and Indian price is low, so there would be a tendency for this rice to go abroad, and which will also, this will be inflation pull factor will push the prices in the domestic market also up. So that is the reason why government has decided to impose export duty. Next. So non-basmati parboiled rice, as I explained to you, that it is last year the growth year before last 61 to 74 lakh metric ton, and therefore it has not been touched, and it goes for human consumption, it goes to vulnerable countries which are dependent, so this export has not been regulated. Likewise, the basmati rice export has also not been regulated. Its growth is stagnant, it's not any exponential growth there. So this is all from my side. I'm sure now it leaves with no question. I have another meeting in Niti Aayog because it is so well explained in the slides.
सर एक बार हिंदी में खाली बता दें
जो फैसला लिया गया उसके पीछे आपने बहुत
So you use the word abnormal. So you are saying the rise of exports is abnormal in broken rice.
ब्रोकन राइस में बिल्कुल आप देखिए 50,000 टन से 4 साल में ये जिस तरह से बढ़ा है, वो ग्रोथ जो है वो बहुत एबनॉर्मल है। उसका शेयर भी 1% से बढ़ के 23% राइस एक्सपोर्ट में बढ़ गया, वो भी एबनॉर्मल है। और जो डोमेस्टिक अवेलेबिलिटी है उसकी खत्म हो गई है, डोमेस्टिक अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं है, ना आपको पोल्ट्री फीड के लिए अवेलेबल है, ना आपको इथेनॉल प्रोग्राम के लिए अवेलेबल है। ये सारे फैक्टर्स जो हैं ये वजह है।
चावल की बुआई के लिए आपने जो एक सेकंड चावल की बुआई के लिए आपने जो आंकड़े दिए वो हिंदी में सर बता दें कि
चावल की बुआई के आंकड़े एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट के आंकड़े हैं। मैंने यहाँ पर सिर्फ कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेटिंग के लिए आप लोगों को एक पर्सपेक्टिव देने के लिए उन आंकड़ों को इस्तेमाल किया है। अदरवाइज ये एग्रीकल्चर की वेबसाइट के ऊपर वो अवेलेबल है। 35 लाख हेक्टेयर
38 लाख
हेक्टेयर।
प्रोडक्शन कितना कम होने का अनुमान है?
देखिए ये बहुत अर्ली स्टेज है, क्योंकि यील्ड चूंकि कुछ एरियाज में आज इस बार आपने बारिश अगर देखी है तो बारिश ज्यादा भी हुई है, स्कैटर्ड हुई है, कहीं पर कम हुई है तो कहीं पर ज्यादा भी हुई है। तो एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट का कहना है कि जो बारिश का ट्रेंड है उसको देखते हुए मेट्रोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट ने भी प्रेजेंटेशन की थी, वो उनका ये भी कहना है कि कई एरियाज में यील्ड अच्छी होगी, तो जहां कहीं पर यील्ड कम हुई है और कुछ जगहों पर जहां पर बारिश अच्छी हुई है, ज्यादा एरिया है वो, तो यील्ड बढ़ेगी तो हो सकता है कि प्रोडक्शन लॉस एंड में ना हो। अभी तो ये खाली बिल्कुल स्टेटिस्टिकल फिगर है कि इतना एरिया इतनी यील्ड, इसके बेसिस पे मैक्सिमम 100 लाख टन का उन्होंने अनुमान लगाया है पूरे साल का, खरीफ सीजन का।
One question at a time, please.
आपने कहा चावल
One question.
surplus रहेगा, इसके बावजूद जो एक्सपोर्ट हुआ चावल का पिछले साल और अभी का अनुमानित अगर देखें उत्पादन, फिर भी हमारे इंडिया के पास पर्याप्त मात्रा में चावल रहेगा, तो वो थोड़ा सा बताएं।
जी, हमारे पास पर्याप्त मात्रा में इसलिए रहेगा क्योंकि मैंने आपको फिगर्स दिए हैं कि अभी तक का जो आपका एक्सपोर्ट है करीब 72 लाख मीट्रिक टन का है। लास्ट ईयर नॉर्मल प्राइस थे मार्केट में, और आपका एक्सपोर्ट 212 लाख मीट्रिक, तो करीब 150 लाख मीट्रिक टन का आपके पास सरप्लस, अगर प्रोडक्शन फिगर्स वैसे ही रहते हैं, क्योंकि लास्ट ईयर से इस बार प्रोडक्शन हमारा थोड़ा ज़्यादा होने की उम्मीद थी, तो अगर बारिश की वजह से कुछ 2-3% कम भी होता है तब भी हमारा प्रोडक्शन हो सकता है लास्ट ईयर के लेवल पे रहे। उस सिचुएशन में हमारे पास अवेलेबिलिटी जो है वो राइस की सफिशिएंट होगी डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन।
तो यानी हम कह सकते हैं कि गेहूं में जो एक आशंका जताई गई थी, चावल में वो ऐसी स्थिति नहीं आने वाली है अगले 1-2 साल में।
आपको मैंने सारे फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स दिखाए हैं जो बिल्कुल क्लियरली स्टैब्लिश करते हैं कि उस तरह की स्थिति नहीं है, लेकिन ब्रोकन राइस में जो स्थिति थी उसको डील करने के लिए ये फैसला लिया गया है।
सर, जो राइस में ड्यूटी लगाया है सर 20% ऑन व्हाइट राइस, ब्राउन राइस, अपार्ट फ्रॉम एक्सेप्ट
parboiled and basmati.
What we are told that some 20 lakh tons that have been contracted and yet to be shipped. So what is the fate of that 20 lakh tons, sir?
देखिए, फेट गवर्नमेंट ड्यूटी तो इमीडिएट इफेक्ट से लागू हो गई है, तो फेट तो बिल्कुल जो खरीदार है, आपने, ये कोई भारत के लिए नहीं है, बहुत से देशों में जो भी ड्यूटी लगती है तो ड्यूटी तो इमीडिएट इफेक्ट से लगती है। सेलर्स एंड बायर्स अपने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स को रीनेगोशिएट करते हैं, कभी कभी ड्यूटीज कम भी होती हैं, तब भी सेलर्स एंड बायर्स जो है अपने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स को रीनेगोशिएट करते हैं, तो ये तो नॉर्मल प्रक्रिया है।
पहले से कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ है, यू सेइंग दैट यू नो द ड्यूटी इज एक्चुअली इफेक्टिव बेसिकली।
तो मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ, ये नोटिफिकेशन कह रहा है, कल रात से वो ड्यूटी
सर ब्रोकन राइस को डिफाइन कैसे करेंगे, और ये क्या ह्यूमन कंजम्पशन?
वो अलग उसका एचएस कोड है और वो डिफाइंड है।
सर ये प्रेजेंटेशन हम लोग को मिल जाएगा,
ये आपको
Presentation दे
डिटेल्स
दोगे
दे
आप,
देंगे
जी,
आपको।
presentation आप
थैंक यू वेरी मच।
सर एक आखिरी सवाल सर
अभी
सर प्लीज सर
ओके,
सर
अभी आ रहे हैं।
आखिरी सवाल सर जो फ्री फूड ग्रेन प्रोग्राम चल रहा है पीएमकेजीवाई, उसका क्या है सर फेट?